The boat's unique use of interactive features engages the reader with the story and influences its perceptions on society and culture. The Boat, written by Nam Le, is a short story that highlights the issues that occur when a migrant is fleeing their home country. Adapted by Matt Hyun for SBS, it emphasizes the concepts a refugee goes through for the audience to gain extra knowledge. Nam Le's native background impacts his writing as it influences what names each character has, how they act, and the ideas he gets for his stories. The Boat has showcased issues such as fear and hope of a new world. The interactive website has shown these issues as valuable as it puts the audience in their shoes and they get a glimpse of the migrant experience. The Boat challenges the expectations of storytelling through evolving technology. The viewer is able to explore and understand a novel by clicking, scrolling, listening, reading, and viewing. These technologies enhance the experience as it makes the responder empathize with the characters in the story, as well as creating a connection between the reader and the characters.
The Boat is a story of how Vietnamese refugees fled when Saigon fell. Life was so dire that people fled by boat in pursuit of a better life, a new world. It is valuable that the story has been presented in an engaging story that includes imagery, sound, lighting, and the reader has to scroll and click to read the story. This keeps the story engaging. It has moving images and music, and this is better than a traditional website because this engages the reader instead of reading a boring novel. This makes these types of stories more exciting to read. There are sections to the story where the reader must click arrows to see the real images and backstory of characters to immerse the reader in the story. This helps convey what's going on in the story. The way everything is created where the reader clicks and scrolls and listens has an engaging feel to it, whereas if you're reading a traditional story, you wouldn't have clicking or scrolling, or moving visuals and sound. So with those aspects, it keeps the viewer engaged, and with technology these days, these types of stories are becoming more popular compared to boring stories with no sound or visuals or cool in-depth scenes that engages the reader by clicking on them. As the story goes on, it tells the reader how May's parents sent her away to live with her uncle, but then would later have to escape by boat to leave for Australia. As the website conveys, the journey wasn't easy.
The opening screen of The Boat is effective in presenting its issues in a valuable manner. This is evident through its use of techniques such as symbolism, tone and color, and non-diegetic sound to engage the responder to the story. The use of animation plays a major role as it highlights the use of moving elements, which includes the waves crashing against the boat, rain pouring heavily, and the clouds moving in the dark sky. The Boat also takes advantage of its use of color as it utilizes a monochrome palette. The tone of the boat creates a sinister and eerie environment for the responder, which is unique in comparison to other interactive websites. The use of symbolism is another role as it catches the reader's attention as the proportion of the boat is small compared to the crashing waves, which suggests that there may be no hope, desperation, fear, and a rough journey. The non-diegetic sound consists of waves crashing, thunder, and strong blowing winds. Each element complements the opening screen as it's vital to gaining the viewer's attention. The use of symbolism, sound, tone, and color are used in an effective and creative way, thus engaging the responder's attention. Though fear is shown in each chapter, Chapter 4 displays fear in an effective way as it highlights the issues and challenges that are faced by refugees. Some challenges faced by the characters in the boats are the struggle with scalding hot heat, lack of food and water, and disease as the engine of the boat comes to a halt. This is displayed through the diegetic sound of the engine stopping, which also creates suspense and involves the responder as they are curious as to what is happening. The boat uses tone and color to portray situations as well as framing. An example of this is when the beaming sun is shown in the background, whilst the foreground utilizes framing on Mai's face to indicate how hot it is. This is emphasized when she said that time felt slow as the sun is beaming in the background. The use of audio plays a major role in The Boat as it helps the reader sympathize with the main characters in the story. An example of this is when they toss a body off the boat due to disease.
In Chapter 3, May follows a man to escape on a rowboat to get to the main escape boat. They had to be very careful not to get caught because then their escape would be ruined, and so would any chance of them starting a new life. The hope of a new world would be ruined. When they got to the boat, it looked deserted, but that was the plan, because everybody had to hide not to get caught. Later on, they came across men with M30 machine guns and mine-infested waters, and if that wasn't bad, there was no space, and the smell, as May described it, inside the hold, the stench was incredible, almost eye-watering. The smell of urine and human waste, sweat and vomit. The black space full of people, bodies upon bodies. Eyes and eyes and eyes. Chapter 3 is a big part in the role of escaping to a new so-called world, because they have to escape to be able to leave the worries of war behind them. On the 26th of April, 1976, the first boatload of refugees fleeing Vietnam sailed into Darwin Harbour, heralding a series of arrivals over the next few years. The public did not approve of the so-called boat people. On the 30th of April, 1975, Saigon fell to the North Vietnamese army. Over 2 decades, approximately 2 million people fled, often by sea, and by 1995, 800,000 refugees had resettled in other countries, but between 200,000 and 400,000 did not survive the journey. This was in the 1970s, when the humanitarian crisis became internationally known, that the government led public opinion. Australian refugee intake dramatically increased, and by 1977, 2,754 Vietnamese refugees had been authorised to resettle in Australia, and by 1985 this figure blasted up to more than 100,000. Today, 1% of the Australian population are born in Vietnam.
As technology evolves, so does storytelling. The boat shows that a story can be engaging as it has utilized multimodal aspects that forces the reader to click, scroll, and listen to the story. In each chapter, the use of framing, color, lighting, and symbolism varies corresponding within the chapter's subject.
The boat is an example of how multimodal text can influence people's views on society and culture. It shows how over the years storytelling has evolved to a great extent, to the point where stories can be told through a screen and can be turned into an interactive story that has more to offer to the reader.